shift at the grocery store was supposed to be easy. Stock shelves, listen to music, get paid. But by 3 a.m., I was hiding behind the cereal boxes, praying that thing wouldn't find me. I had just started working as an overnight stalker at a 24-hour grocery store called Fresh Mart. College wasn't cheap, bills were stacking up, and I needed something flexible. The manager, Carl, gave me a quick tour during orientation. "Simple job," he said. "You stock shelves, face the products. If you hear anything strange, ignore it, and don't go near aisle 9 after 2 a.m. I laughed nervously. "Why?" Carl's face remained serious. "Just trust me." My first night started out normal. The store was empty. Lights were bright. Quiet except for the soft hum of refrigerators and distant pops of the intercom. I stocked the cereal aisle first, organized soup cans next, restacked some fallen toilet paper, towers. Every so often, I'd catch movement on the security mirrors mounted on the ceiling. Usually just my own reflection. But once or twice, it felt like something else moved behind me. I brushed it off. New job jitters. Around 12:45 a.m., I heard a soft, shuffling sound from a few aisles over. It wasn't the creaking of the building. It sounded like footsteps. Slow. Dragging. I peeked around the corner. Nothing. The lights above aisle 9 flickered briefly. Carl's warning echoed in my head. "Don't go near aisle 9 after 2 a.m. At 1:30 a.m., I took my cart toward the dairy section. As I passed the end of aisle 9, I noticed something odd. The floor was wet. A thin trail of liquid leading down the aisle. Not water. Thicker, darker. Like old dark syrup or blood. I shivered. At the far end of the aisle, one single cart stood abandoned, its front wheel slowly turning on. Their own. No one was near it. I called out softly. "Hello? Maintenance?" No answer. The trail led behind the frozen foods. But I wasn't about to follow it. I went to find Carl. He was in the back office, watching the monitors. Before I could speak, he cut me off. "You saw it, didn't you?" I paused. "Saw what?" He rubbed his temples. "You need to stay out of aisle 9. Always. After 2 a.m., stay busy up front. Don't even glance that way." "What's back there?" He leaned in. 3 years ago, a man died here. Homeless. Snuck in during closing. Fell between the shelving during overnight restock. He was crushed. No one found him until morning." Carl's voice grew cold. "But sometimes, he keeps stalking and looking for help." By 2 a.m., I was back out on the floor, trying to shake it off. I stayed far from aisle 9, but the sounds kept returning, dragging, scraping, low groaning. The intercom crackled, even though no one was on the mic. Click. Clean up. Clean up. Clean up. The robotic voice repeated like a broken loop. Then it stopped. Silence. I swear I heard breathing behind me. When I turned, there was nothing but perfectly stacked shelves. At 2:47 a.m., all the lights in the store dimmed for a moment. The freezers rattled. The air grew colder. Then I heard it. Whispers. Faint. From aisle 9. "Don't leave me. It's heavy. Help me." I should have called Carl. I should have left. Instead, I grabbed my flashlight and walked slowly toward aisle 9. The lights above aisle 9 flickered violently. Half the bulbs were burned out, leaving patches of deep shadow between the shelves. The wet trail was thicker now, sticky. My shoes made faint, squelching sounds as I stepped forward. At the far end of the aisle, something crouched. A man-shaped figure. Thin. Gaunt. Wearing a torn employee vest from years ago. He was stacking cans onto a shelf, slowly, methodically. But his head was twisted at an unnatural angle, facing me directly, even as his body kept working. The cans slipped from his trembling hands, clattering to the floor. Then he whispered in a hoarse breath, "You're late." I froze. His head jerked fully backward. A snapping sound echoed, and his empty eye sockets locked onto mine. Suddenly he lunged forward, his limbs stretched unnaturally, knees bending the wrong way as he crawled toward me, dragging his body with rapid, spider-like movements. I sprinted, heart pounding, knocking over displays and carts as I fled. The store lights cut in and out. The intercom kept sputtering, "Clean up on aisle. 9, 9, 9. I reached the front entrance, but the automatic doors wouldn't open. I turned to see the figure standing behind the customer service counter, breathing heavily, head twitching. His voice rasped again. "It's your shift now." Suddenly, all lights snapped back to normal. Carl appeared behind me, gripping my shoulder tightly. "Don't look at him," he whispered. "Walk. Now." He led me back toward the break room without looking back. When I glanced one final time toward aisle 9, it was empty. Just shelves of cereal and canned vegetables, perfectly stocked. I quit the next day. Carl didn't stop me. He even seemed relieved. I found a warehouse far from Fresh Mart. But every night since, I still wake up at exactly 2:47 a.m. Always to the same sound. Squelch. 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 The sound of something dragging across the floor, right outside my bedroom door. The shadows under my door flicker like malfunctioning grocery store lights. And every morning, I wake up to see my kitchen cabinets perfectly organized. Cans stacked neatly. Boxes perfectly faced. Like someone's still stocking. Still working. Don't ever take a night stalker shift at Fresh Mart, because some aisles never close. When I took the night shift at the hospital, they warned me about room 6C. "Stay out of that room after midnight," they said. I thought it was just old superstitions. But on my second night, I learned the truth. I was 24, fresh out of training, and thrilled to finally land a job as a security guard at a local hospital. It was an older building, mostly used for long-term care now. Half the wings were shut down. The pay wasn't great, but night shifts meant fewer people, less stress, and decent money. The supervisor, Linda, showed me around on my first day. "This floor is mostly empty now," she said. "Your job's simple. Patrol once an hour, watch the monitors, and report anything unusual." I nodded, eager to get started. Then, as we passed the last hallway, she stopped. "Whatever you do, don't go near room 6C. I raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Linda shook her head, voice low. "Just trust me." Midnight hit. The hospital was quiet. Eerily so. The faint hum of fluorescent lights, distant beeping of monitors, and the occasional creak of old pipes echoed through the halls. I started my first patrol. The entire third floor was dark. The empty patient rooms still had hospital beds covered in white sheets like forgotten ghosts. As I passed room 6C, I felt a chill run through me. The door was closed. The light above flickered. It was the only room on the floor that still had power. I shook off the unease and continued. Back at the security desk, I flipped through the camera feeds. At 12:43 a.m., something strange happened. Camera 3C, covering the hallway outside room 6C, glitched for a second. When it cleared, the door was slightly open. That door had been closed. I was sure of it. I rewound the footage. The moment it glitched, the door opened about 3 inches. No one was in frame. At 1 a.m., I made my second patrol. As I approached room 6C, my flashlight flickered. The door was now open wider, maybe 6 inches. A cold draft brushed against my skin. I leaned closer, peering through the crack. The room was dark, except for a faint green glow. The old heart monitor, still running inside. The monitor was beeping slowly. Beep. 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 No patients were supposed to be in there. I whispered, "Hello? Maintenance? Housekeeping?" No response. I reached for my radio. Before I could speak, the heart monitor flatlined. Beep. Beep. I jumped back, breathing heavily. The door creaked and slowly started closing on its own. I hurried back to the security desk. The monitors started flickering again. Camera feeds scrambled with static every few minutes, but only on floor 3. At 1:47 a.m., camera 3C showed something that made my stomach turn. There was now a figure standing in front of room 6C's doorway. Tall, dressed in a patient gown, head slightly tilted, eyes completely black. I blinked, staring at the screen. Then, static. When the feed returned, the hallway was empty again. Shaken, I finally called Linda. She answered groggily. "What's wrong?" I told her what I saw. A long pause followed. Then she sighed. "I was hoping you wouldn't see anything on your first week." I waited, confused. 6 years ago," she continued, "room 6C housed a patient named Robert Keller. He was comatose for months, no family, no visitors. One night he coded, but before the nurses could reach him, something else happened." "What do you mean?" "Witnesses said they saw him standing upright at the foot of the bed, but the heart monitor showed he was flatlined." She lowered her voice. "They say his body died, but something stayed behind." At 2:30 a.m., the cameras glitched again. This time, I saw him. The figure was now moving down the hallway, slowly, towards the stairwell. The cameras couldn't track him after that. I heard the emergency stairwell door open. The metal creaked loudly. Against every bit of my better judgment, I left the desk to check. I reached the stairwell and slowly pushed the door open. Nothing. But I felt an overwhelming pressure in the air, like being watched. Then I heard it. From above. Thump. 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 Footsteps, heavy, steady, descending. I backed into the hallway and shut the door. I returned to the desk, sweating, heart racing. For 30 minutes, nothing happened. No movement on any camera, no sounds, no glitches. I almost convinced myself I had imagined everything. Lack of sleep, stress, paranoia. Then, at exactly 3 a.m., the power went out. Complete darkness swallowed the building. The only light came from the emergency exit signs, casting a dim red glow through the halls. The cameras froze. The radios crackled. And then, I saw him, standing in the lobby, right in front of me. The same patient gown, the black eyes, except now, he was smiling. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. He stepped closer, but his feet didn't touch the ground, gliding toward me like air. His voice was cold, yet hollow. "You see me now. They all see me. Eventually." I stumbled backward as the temperature plummeted. Suddenly, everything snapped back. Lights flickered on, monitors rebooted. cameras refreshed. I was back at the desk. Clock read 12:01 a.m., the start of my shift. The hallway monitors showed room 6C, door closed, perfectly still. It was like the night had reset. But my heart was still pounding. My shirt was damp with sweat. My hands were shaking. The building hummed quietly, as if nothing had happened. I've tried to quit. I've called, emailed, begged. But every morning when I wake up, I'm back at that desk. The shift starts over. Every night, endlessly. I don't know if I'm still alive. I don't know if I ever was. All I know is that room 6C is still waiting. And soon, someone new will take my place. If you ever get offered a night shift at this hospital, don't take it, because some shifts never end. The job posting said, overnight security guard needed, 1 shift only, $500 cash. It sounded too good to be true. It was, because I'm still here, and I don't think I ever left. I had just lost my job and was behind on rent. When I saw the ad, I jumped at the chance. The address was for an old office building on the outskirts of the city. 4 stories tall, abandoned for years except for occasional maintenance. I arrived just before midnight. A thin man in a suit was waiting for me in the lobby. "Mr. Peterson?" he asked, extending his hand. "Yeah, that's me. I'm Mr. Granger, property manager. Simple job tonight. Walk the floors once an hour. Stay at the desk otherwise. Cameras will record your rounds. No visitors allowed." He handed me a set of keys, a flashlight, and a clipboard. Before leaving, he paused. "One last thing. If you hear anything unusual, stay at your post. Do not investigate. Call this number instead." He slid a card into my pocket. Then he was gone. The first round went by fast. The building was eerie but empty. Echoing footsteps, flickering lights, dusty cubicles. The kind of place that smells like old paper and mildew. As I passed the stairwell on the 3rd floor, I thought I heard something. A faint whisper, almost. Like a conversation. But when I stopped, it went silent. I wrote it off as pipes or air ducts. Back at the desk, I tried to stay awake. At 1:37 a.m., one of the security monitors flickered. Camera 4B, 4th floor, west wing. The screen glitched, showing brief movement, like someone stepping just out of frame. I leaned closer, squinting. The hallway was empty again. I checked the building log. No scheduled maintenance. No authorized personnel on site. I told myself the camera was faulty. I made my second round. 3rd floor, quiet. 4th floor, colder. The temperature dropped noticeably as I reached the west wing. I turned the corner and froze. A door at the end of the hallway was slightly open. Room 414. I was certain it had been closed earlier. The rules said not to investigate. I called the number Mr. Granger gave me, straight to voicemail. I stood there, heartbeat pounding. Finally, I approached and gently nudged the door open. Inside was an empty conference room. Long table. Dozens of old office chairs stacked in the corner. But on the table sat a single object, an old tape recorder. I pressed play. A man's voice crackled through the tiny speaker. "Day 19, still hearing the voices. The others are gone. I think they're inside the walls now watching me." The tape clicked off. I stumbled back, breathing heavily. When I returned to the desk, I noticed something else. My clipboard, which I had left sitting neatly by the monitor, was now on the floor. The pen was missing. At 2:46 a.m., The motion sensor pinged again. Camera 3A, stairwell. The screen showed nothing for a moment. Then a shadow moved quickly across the frame. Not a shape, a shadow, but there was no body casting it. I radioed for backup. No response. I tried calling Mr. Granger again. Straight to voicemail. The silence of the building was suffocating. By 3 a.m., my anxiety was gnawing at me. I decided to do one last round before calling it quits. 4th floor again. The west wing. This time, the lights overhead flickered violently. The cold was intense. My breath fogged in front of me. As I walked past the storage rooms, I heard footsteps directly above me. Heavy, deliberate. Steps pacing back and forth. Problem was, I was already on the top floor. Then came the whispering. Not through the walls this time, but directly behind me. I spun around, shining my flashlight. Nothing. But the whispers continued, circling me. Stay with us. Stay with us. The air grew thick. My vision blurred. I stumbled backwards, heart racing, and bolted for the stairwell. Running down the stairs, I noticed something strange. The stairwell seemed longer, winding, endless. I counted the flights. 4, 5, 6, 7. I was running up, but still heading down. The building was only 4 stories tall. It didn't make sense. I stopped, panting, gripping the cold metal rail. That's when the lights went out completely. Pitch black. The whispers returned, louder now. Dozens of voices, overlapping. Don't leave us. You belong here now. Another one. Another one. I reached for my phone, but the screen was dead. Then, a hand touched my shoulder. Cold, firm, heavy. I screamed, spinning around, but nothing was there. Then a flicker of light returned. But it wasn't the stairwell anymore. I was standing back at the security desk. The monitors were frozen. The clock read 12 a.m., exactly where I started. Like the shift had never begun, or never ended. I tried the exit doors, locked. The windows wouldn't break. My calls wouldn't go through. Hours passed, or minutes. I couldn't tell anymore. The building seemed to hum, as if alive. Whispers filled the vents. Soft breathing followed me down every hallway. At some point, I stopped running. I just sat back down at the desk, watching the monitors, waiting. I don't know how long I've been here now. Days? Weeks? I don't feel hungry or tired. I just sit here, watching the same empty halls, hearing the same voices. Sometimes I see new applicants walk through the front doors, excited for their easy shift. They don't leave either. Mr. Granger still shows up, occasionally bringing new faces. The building needs us, and we always stay. So if you ever see an ad for a one-night security shift, don't apply. Because once you're inside, there's no such thing as one night.